So thanks, Jennifer. What I'd like to do is just briefly go through the revised process, outline the steps that refugee claimants would go through if they're making claims in Canada based on the new process. And then as I go through those steps, I'll highlight what has actually changed, and I'll highlight some of the concerns that I have with these changes. So basically under the new system, it's basically a six-step process. So the first step is that a claimant who's in Canada, either at a land border, an airport, or an inland office, makes a claim to an immigration officer. They say that they want to make a refugee claim. That immigration officer will determine whether or not they're eligible to make a claim. Most claimants are eligible. There are certain categories of claimants who would not be eligible because of national security concerns, certain criminality rules, serious criminality, organized criminality. So some folks will not be eligible at that stage, but the vast majority of people get through the eligibility step. There's nothing that's changed about that particular step. The second step is that a claimant will be interviewed with a staff member at the IRB, the Immigration and Refugee Board, within 8 days of having their claim determined to be eligible. So the claimant will have an interview at the IRB. The staff member will help the claimant put together the relevant documents that will form the foundation for their claim. The staff member will ask questions about the claim. Tell me about the persecution that you fear. Why can't you get protection in your home country? Those answers will then be recorded. This process is new. There previously was no interview like this. Previously what happened was that you went out, you got counsel, usually a lawyer, and your lawyer prepared what's called a personal information form, where your lawyer helped you write out your narrative, and you would then have a hearing that would evaluate whether or not that narrative is in fact genuine. Could you substantiate that narrative? Well, the process is no longer the lawyer writing the narrative. The process will be the staff member at the IRB doing so. So this is new. There are some concerns about this process. First of all, it happens very quickly. So you come to Canada, let's say you make a claim at the airport, you're going to have an interview with a staff member at the IRB within 8 days, which means that if you want to go and get legal representation and advice about how to best frame your claim, how to best answer questions in that interview, what documents do you need to have to go to that interview, it's going to be very difficult for you to find representation, to have meaningful consultation with your lawyer to actually get documents. So that's a concern. A second concern is that historically, the Immigration and Refugee Board relies heavily on statements made by claimants, not in the presence of their lawyers. So right now, when you make a refugee claim, I talked about the first step, the eligibility step. Right now there's an interview with the immigration officer that makes the eligibility determination. That officer takes notes, they're called port of entry notes. The Immigration and Refugee Board frequently at hearings will say, your narrative and the notes at the port of entry are different, and that indicates that you're not credible. Explain why. Before speaking to the lawyer, you said your claim was on this basis. After you spoke with counsel, now suddenly the claim has changed. We believe you're fabricating the claim. I would expect to see a similar kind of phenomenon happening with respect to the interview within 8 days. There's nothing in the new bill which indicates that lawyers are entitled to be present during the 8-day interview, but on a conference call with CBSA and CIC that was held a couple of days ago, CBSA indicated that lawyers would be welcome at this meeting, assuming you could actually get a lawyer in time. So that's the second step, an interview at the Immigration and Refugee Board. The third step is a hearing at the Refugee Protection Division of the Immigration and Refugee Board. This hearing is supposed to happen within 60 days of the claim being referred to the Immigration and Refugee Board. That's very quick. Currently, it takes an average of something like a year to a year and a half to actually get your hearing at the Immigration and Refugee Board. They plan to now do this in 2 months. It will be a civil servant who will be hearing claims at the Immigration and Refugee Board's Refugee Protection Division. Currently, board members are appointed by the Governor and Council, so they're effectively appointed by the Prime Minister. The new process, they'll simply be staff at the Immigration and Refugee Board. There have been mixed responses to this. Some people have come out and said, well, this actually allows the Immigration and Refugee Board to have people who will be there for longer periods of time. They will be lifelong kind of professionals, or at least will have significant experience in this area. Will be able to invest in better training. They don't have to be worried about reappointments, especially if the appointments are politicized, as they are in the current system. So there may be some advantages to this. There are also some risks, though, and the risks are that because these folks are just staff members at the Immigration and Refugee Board, there are concerns about how independent they are from management of the Immigration and Refugee Board. And depending on the relationship between management of the Immigration and Refugee Board and the government, there's concern about the possibility for political interference. So you have a chairperson at the Immigration and Refugee Board like Peter Schauer, who very strongly pushed for the independence of the Immigration and Refugee Board. I actually think this change would be a good thing. There would be more control, more quality control in terms of the decision makers, more opportunities for training. So the move could be positive. On the other hand, if you have an immigration chair at the IRB who is less concerned about institutional independence, there is a strong concern about political interference in the refugee determination process. So that's one concern about this particular change.